Chapter 12, Resonance. The training chamber of Askustrad Base was alive with light. Panels of alloy and reflective glass lined the walls, each one humming softly under the strain of Genesis output. Briar stood at the center, armor slick with condensation from the cold air circulating through the vents. The stabilizer on his forearm pulsed once, twice, then steadied. He exhaled and braced his stance. Beginning controlled discharge, Solis' voice crackled through the comm line. Keep it under 15% this time. No heroics. Briar smirked. No promises. He lifted his hand, palm outward. The air rippled. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then a burst of blue-white light erupted forward. The blast hit the chamber's reinforced barrier with a deep, satisfying boom, scattering dust like starlight. Output 14.8, Solis said. Not bad again. Briar drew in a slow breath, centering himself. He could feel the power now, not as heat or pain, but as a rhythm under his skin. It wasn't chaos anymore. It had form, texture. The next pulse didn't explode. It flowed. A thin line of light stretched from his palm like a thread of molten glass, extending outward before dissipating with a gentle hiss. Beamform stabilized, Solis noted. Finally. Lyra stood in the observation bay, arms crossed, a faint grin tugging at her lips. Look at that, he can play nice now. Briar turned, breath steady, grin returning. Careful, I might still blow something up to keep you entertained. She rolled her eyes. I'll alert maintenance. They ran drills for hours. Short bursts, long pulses, controlled deflection. Each iteration, Briar refined his aim, learning that Genesis energy wasn't about brute strength. It responded to rhythm, to intention. When he forced it, it fought back. When he let it flow, it obeyed. By the time Solis called for rest, the air smelled of ozone and sweat. Briar's arms trembled slightly, not from pain but exhaustion, the good kind, the earned kind. He sat on the edge of the chamber floor, watching his reflection in the polished steel. The faint blue glow beneath his skin flickered like city lights under fog. You're adapting faster than expected, Solis said, stepping into the chamber. His voice carried that rare note of approval. You've gone from detonations to precision in a week. Guess I finally stopped trying to kill the power before it killed me. Solis studied the readings. You're learning balance, but remember, Genesis energy amplifies intent. Fear, anger, pride, they all twist it. If you lose focus, it won't just misfire. It'll listen to the wrong thing, Briar finished. Solis nodded. Exactly. Later that day, the call came from command. The first joint simulation with the new Genesis cadets. They arrived in a burst of noise and confidence, young, cocky, freshly injected with stabilized Genesis formulas. Their uniforms gleamed, their stabilizers unscarred. Briar had seen that look before, the same one his father's generation wore before the war took it from them. The squad leader, a tall soldier named Corin Dane, eyed Briar's older, battered stabilizer and scoffed. Didn't realize we were training alongside museum pieces. Lyra stepped forward, tone sharp. Show some respect. Corin smirked. I am, for the history books. Briar just smiled. You'll learn faster if you keep your mouth shut. The simulation field was massive, a virtual projection layered over real terrain, simulating city ruins and collapsing structures. The objective, neutralize a mock ion core within 10 minutes. The younger recruits surged ahead, charging the enemy's projection drones with reckless abandon. Energy bolts lanced through the air, striking walls, detonating debris. Briar moved slower, deliberate. He crouched, touched the stabilizer, and let the hum guide him. The Genesis pulse flared, soft, controlled, and he extended his hand. A beam of condensed light shot forward, slicing clean through a falling column. It vaporized before it could crush the cadets. Corin blinked, then barked, Stay out of my line. Then stop standing in front of it, Briar replied calmly, redirecting another beam to deflect an incoming plasma bolt. Each strike left a faint trail of smoke, elegant, precise. He was no longer detonating the world around him. He was sculpting it. Halfway through the mission, one of the cadets lost control. Her stabilizer overheated, discharging erratic bursts of Genesis energy in every direction. The field destabilized, the simulation glitching into chaos. "Containment breach," Solis shouted over comms. "Get everyone clear." The recruits scattered, but the girl was frozen in shock, her hands glowing white-hot. The energy was about to cascade. Briar didn't think, he acted. He sprinted forward, the world slowing to pulses of blue and gray. He thrust both hands outward. Instead of firing a beam, he caught the blast. The energy roared against his palms, struggling to escape. For a moment it felt like trying to hold back a collapsing star. He gritted his teeth and focused, not on stopping it but redirecting it. He pulled the Genesis flow into a spiral, guiding it up and away, releasing it skyward in a shimmering vortex that burst harmlessly above the field. When the light faded, he dropped to one knee, chest heaving. The stabilizer hissed and flickered red before dimming again. Lyra was there first, kneeling beside him. "You just contained a Genesis overload barehanded." He looked at his palms, smoke curling from the gloves. "Guess I finally learned to catch." That night, Askustrad was quiet. The recruits celebrated their survival in the mess hall, laughter echoing through metal corridors. Briar sat alone in the training bay, staring at his hands. Every failure, every near-death, every loss had led him here, to control. Not perfect control, but enough to know what came next. He stood, flexing his fingers. The air shimmered faintly, residual Genesis heat dancing across his knuckles. He extended his hand again, focusing the energy into a beam thinner than a thread of light. It hovered, stable, beautiful. He smiled. Progress. Behind him, Solis entered quietly, hands clasped. "I've seen that look before, usually right before someone breaks protocol." Briar didn't turn. "I can chain the bursts now, not full power, just small pulses in sequence. It doesn't overload the stabilizer." Solis frowned. "That's risky. The power cycles aren't built for continuous feedback. You could short the regulator." "Or I could double our output potential," Briar countered. Solis sighed. "You sound like your father." Briar looked down. He died proving the impossible works. They stood in silence a moment before Solis spoke again. "Command! Assigning a specialist to your unit next week. A control instructor." "Another babysitter." Solis shook his head. "No, this one's different. Name, Draven Holt. He trained half the first-generation Genesis Corps before the fall of Haven Prime." Briar raised an eyebrow. "Didn't he lose his legs when a Genesis reactor detonated?" "Yes," Solis said quietly. "But his mind's sharper than ever. He's requested to work with you personally." Briar considered that, the hum of the stabilizer echoing faintly in his ears. "Guess he wants to see what the next generation looks like." Solis smiled. "Or what's left of it." Later, Briar returned to his quarters. The frost on the windows had turned the world outside into silver static. He stared out at the frozen horizon, the auroras bleeding faint orange and blue. The stabilizer hummed once more, steady and calm. He raised his hand, and for the first time the energy didn't fight him, it waited. He released a single beam into the night sky, so thin it was nearly invisible. It vanished into the clouds without sound. Maybe, he thought, control wasn't about power at all. Maybe it was about knowing when to let go. Outside, lightning flickered far to the north, the iron storms gathering again. He watched the glow for a long time, then whispered to the quiet. "Next time I'll be ready.